What's up everyone, it's Mr. Mixed Up here, but before we get into this video, you probably know what's coming. I'm at 92 subscribers, road to 100, so if you're new and you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe right away and also tap that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. So basically guys, what this is a new series where I talk to you about all the latest Spurs news. And what I mean by Spurs is of course Tottenham Hotspur, the London football team or soccer team. You probably all know them by now. This is basically a new series where I talk about like results in matches and transfers and other news. So this is the first episode. I hope you enjoy it. So basically, let's start off with transfers. As you know, the transfer window of the Premier League just ended a couple of days ago, and Spurs, since their stadium is finished, or Tottenham Hotspur, since their stadium was finished, they could focus more on the transfer window again, and they got the likes of Giovanni Lo Celso, Taguy Ndombele, and Ryan Sessegnon. I'm sorry for that pronunciation. But they had a really busy transfer window, and Joshua Onuma left for Fulham. Kieran Trippier, the right back, left for Atletico Madrid. There was a lot of rumors of Christian Eriksen leaving for Manchester United, but that's not true because the transfer window is over, and so United can't buy him. But there's still hopes for like clubs like Real Madrid to buy Christian Eriksen. But I personally hope he stays because he's a critical part of Spurs and he was help us a lot in the season. And also, a couple of contract extensions. Lucas Moura, his contract was supposed to end like 2023, but he extended it by 1 year and it's until 2024 now. And also, I forgot to mention, Cameron Carter-Vickers has left Spurs for Stoke City, confirmed loan. So yeah, that's basically transfer news. Spurs have had a busy transfer window. So there was some contract extensions, there was some departures, and there were some newcomers to the Spurs lineup. But that's the transfer news for you. So now let's get to the second part of the news, which is basically Spurs' first match in the Premier League. It was yesterday against a newly promoted Aston Villa. As you know, Aston Villa got like 12 new signings for the new season, which could play a critical part in them surviving this season and not getting relegated. If you saw my Premier League predictions video, you know that I think that Aston Villa are going to survive this Premier League season. One of the reasons is because of this sheer amount of signings that Aston Villa have got. This has been a really busy transfer window for them. But let's get to the Spurs against Tottenham Hotspur against Aston Villa match. So basically, the first half, Spurs were like not as attacking as they usually were, and that cost them actually, as McGinn, shockingly, in the first half, he got past Danny Rose. Danny Rose was trying to tackle and like intercept the ball, but McGinn got past Danny Rose and he got past Hugo Lloris, and the ball got to the back of the net. So props to McGinn, props to Aston Villa. They had a really good performance. They really like put Spurs to the limit, and Spurs were at their new stadium actually. So Aston Villa, this is a performance that I think like is an example of them surviving. Like they could survive the Premier League. And like in the first half, it was Aston Villa all the way. Apart from possession, it was totally won by Spurs. And at the end of the match, in terms of corners, Spurs had like 12 to Aston Villa nothing. No corners for Aston Villa. And that was the first half. Basically, Aston Villa were superior. What Aston Villa were doing in that match was they were putting a majority of their men back to get a good counter attack on Spurs. So basically, like, certain Spurs players could not link up with each other to cause havoc in the penalty box and not to get any goals for Spurs. So basically, Aston Villa were very defensive, but they also had a very good counter attack, and that's what led to McGinn's goal in the first half. And I was honestly shocked. McGinn, like, props to him, props to Aston Villa. They performed well in this match, and they actually scored first. Then in the second half, though, it was still 1-0. Pochettino just went from overall, like, Aston Villa, he went overall more attacking. That, like, Spurs were pressing, attack after attack after attack. Even if Aston Villa got all those men back, like, Spurs were getting most of their men, like, to attack. Most of the second half was played in Aston Villa's half, because Spurs were, like, almost always attacking. Aston Villa did get through the halfway line a couple of times in the second half, but they didn't have, like, a lot of significant deadly attacks in the second half. It was mostly Spurs. And then you get to Tagoy Ndombele, who scored the equalizing goal, and that was honestly a joy. And I was like, with all this pressing after pressing, and you may think that they laid off the pressing, but no, they kept on pressing the same way that they did when they were behind. After Tagoy Ndombele scored the equalizer, they were pressing more and more. And I was like, the leading goal is, like, basically just waiting to happen. And then Harry Kane scored the leading goal 2-1, and then he actually scored another one, and it finished 3-1. Like, Spurs across these last season, they made a very good comeback against Ajax in the Champions League, if you remember, to make it to the final. Fortunately, losing out to Liverpool, but they made it out to the final. And that was a great comeback from Spurs against Ajax. And this time, you may think like it wasn't a very good comeback, because Aston Villa were a newly promoted side, and they were just, like, happy to be here, and, like, they were looking to survive. Meanwhile, Spurs are a Champions League team, but still, Aston Villa played very well in that match, I will admit it. So props to them. And actually, Spurs, they came back at them in the second half. So guys, that was the first episode of Spurs Chat. Let me know what you thought in the comments, if you thought it was good. I'll try to upload a video about match news and transfer news. Next match day is gonna be against Manchester City. So yeah, next match day for Spurs in the Premier League is gonna be on Saturday, 17th August. Is going to be Man City versus Tottenham Hotspur. So I'll try to let you know about my opinion on that match. But for now, I'll see you guys next time. Road to 100 subscribers. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe and also tap that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload. Peace out.